10 a.m. hearing, Friday, February 12th, 2021, via video Zoom, conference room 309. Several items on the agenda for us to hear today. But before we start, for our list of disclaimers and rules of the road, I will turn over to my vice chair for that. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. At the beginning of each hearing, we'll offer these. Oh, I need to unmute myself. Oops, just a minute. As morning hearings must adjourn.
Yeah, don't just
Session.
we'll take it or microphone. Oh, there you go. Just keep talking normally.
As morning floor hearings must adjourn prior to the noon floor session, not all testifiers may have the opportunity to testify. In that event, please know that the committee will consider your written testimony. We prefer people stand on their written testimony. However, if you wish to provide additional oral testimony, you're welcome to do so. In order to allow as many people to testify as possible, there will be a 2-minute time limit per testifier. Please keep yourself muted and your video off while waiting to testify and after your testimony is complete. Testifying via Zoom while operating a motor vehicle will not be allowed. If you're driving when called upon, we will move to the next testifier and give you time to safely park. For transparency, the Zoom chat function will only be used to allow you to chat with technical staff. If used for other than technical issues, you may be removed from the hearing without the ability to rejoin. If you're disconnected unexpectedly, you may attempt to rejoin the meeting. If disconnected while presenting testimony, you may be allowed to continue if time permits. Please note that the House is not responsible for any bad internet connections on testifiers' end. In the event of a catastrophic network failure, it may be necessary to reschedule the hearing or schedule a meeting for decision-making. In that case, an appropriate notice will be posted. Please refrain from profanity or uncivil behavior. Such behavior may be grounds for removal from the hearing without the ability to rejoin.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Vice Chair. All right, with that, we will go ahead and move on to the first bill on the agenda, which is House Bill 139. We have Gary Kam from the Campaign Spending Commission.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. The Commission stands on its written testimony and support.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see, Sandy Ma, Common Cause Hawaii.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony and support, but with concerns. You have our written testimony. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I appreciate your concerns. Let's see, League of Women Voters Hawaii. Written in support, and Andrea Quinn, individual. In support. That's all we have. Testimony. Is there anybody in the Zoom room wishing to testify? Seeing none, members' questions of our testifier.
Chair.
Representative Ward.
Thank you, Chair. Sandy Ma, thank you for your testimony. I have one question on paragraph 1, 2, 3, 5. Common Cause suggests HB 139 be amended to remove the Commission's orders confirmed as a judgment in the circuit courts that are not appealable. Person's right to due process and his or her fair day in court is a central part of democracy. How strongly do you believe about that? And is the 20 days not enough?
Thank you, Representative Ward. We strongly believe in a person's right to due process and a fair day in court. So yes, we strongly believe in that. I believe there was a bill in 2020 that had a 30 days to contest the Commission's preliminary determination of probable cause. We're just concerned about waiving any rights to appeal. So that's our concern. So thank you.
Thank you. Chair, I have one other question, Mr. Kam.
Okay.
Mr. Kam,
Yes.
would you agree with Common Cause to make an amendment to make it whether it is appealable, whether there is due process, whether there is a recourse rather than a final judgment by you guys?
Yeah, so the Commission also believes that due process should be applied to everyone that comes before the Commission, or should be offered. The problem we have here is this situation occurs when there is a preliminary order that is filed by the Commission and the respondent does not ask for a contested case. And then they don't ask for a contested case, and then we ask the Attorney General's office to collect on or try to enforce the order. So once you get into the circuit court, if there's been no contested case hearing, the court you can't really appeal it because there's no administrative record on appeal. So that's why it's not an appealable decision. There are ways, if you feel that the preliminary order that becomes a final order is if there is some defect in how the decision was made, and you can address it under Rule 60 of the Hawaii Rules of Civil Procedure, which is setting aside an order and then going back to the contested case hearing. But that's already provided in our court rules and law. The bottom line is if you get to the circuit court without a contested case hearing and an administrative record, the court can't do anything with that.
Do you have a live or a on-the-ground example to exemplify what you're saying? A case, if you will? I've just handled a contested case hearing last year, but that was a contested case hearing. So of course, if that one went on to appeal, there would be a record on appeal. I don't have an example of someone that did not ask for a contested case hearing, and then the commission order becomes final, and then they try to appeal that. That has never happened. It's never happened, but it's in the bill now, right?
What's in the bill? That there's no
If
appeal.
you don't do it, then you don't have the appeal rights. And you're saying no one has ever done it without a contested case hearing.
How the court cannot proceed without an administrative record on appeal?
Okay.
So I think that what this bill is doing is just making clear that there is no appeal from a preliminary order that becomes a final order without you having to going through the contested case proceeding.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any other questions on the measure? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one on the agenda, which is House Bill 143, again, Campaign Spending Commission.
Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee, Gary Kam again, the commission stands on its written testimony and support. Thank you.
Okay, that's all we have on this one. Anybody else wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, questions of the commissioner? Seeing none, next one on the agenda is House Bill 144. Again, Gary Kam.
Again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, the commission stands on its written testimony and support.
Thank you so much. We have Sandy Ma, Common Cause.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We stand on our written testimony with suggested amendments. We think raising the electioneering amount from 2,000 to 5,000 will leave out some smaller races in Hawaii around election season, and we're concerned about these smaller races, especially on around county councils. And we also would like to keep the same definition for disclosure date to when the expenditure has been made. So thank you. You have our written testimony. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have Natalie Iwasa, individual. Written support. That's all we have on 144. Is there anybody else on Zoom wishing to testify? Seeing none, members' question. Yes, word.
Ms. Ma, your statement confused me. What do you mean by smaller elections like county councils? I mean, the average house race is 35, 40,000, 45,000, and usually it's probably double or triple to do a county election, at least in the Oahu County. So I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So thank you for that question, Representative. So we're thinking of some county council races on the neighbor islands for like Kauai or the Big Island or Maui Island. So some of those races may not be as large as the Oahu County Council races.
Thank you, Chair.
All right,
you.
thank you so much. Okay, let's see. That was on House Bill 144, correct? Let's make sure we're on the same
Yes,
page here. Okay,
144.
146 is up next. We have Gary Cam, Campaign Spending Commission. Gary Cam, 146.
You're muted.
He's muted.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, the commission stands on its written testimony and support.
So let's Sandy Ma, Common Cause.
Thank you again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We just provided comments that we think this bill elevates the executive director and the staff of the Campaign Spending Commission to the level of the commissioners of the Campaign Spending Commission, and that may not be what the bill intended to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all we have on this measure. Anybody else wishing to testify on Zoom? Seeing none, members' questions?
Sure.
Yes, Rep. Ward?
Mr. Kemp,
Yes.
is that correct as Ms. Ma has indicated?
She is correct as far as the original measure. We have asked that the legislature put in an amendment to section 1 to, instead of amending 11-311, which concerns the commission, to amend section 11-314, where it talks about the commission can employ staff. So I think that would take care of Common Cause's concerns. I think it would. I'm not sure. I can't speak for Common Cause.
Has that been communicated to Chair McKelvey or the Vice Chair?
It's in our testimony, Representative Ward, and our testimony was provided to Common Cause.
Okay, I didn't read your testimony yet. So if
Third
ahead.
paragraph under further consideration.
The proposed 1131 the commission requests that you replace the content. Okay, I see right there. Okay, it's very specific and we got the wording. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Real quick question myself of Common Cause for you, Sandy, if you're there. What are your, I guess, feedback on the proposed amendments that were just discussed?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to look at it again. Sorry.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll talk offline. Okay. Any other questions, members? If not, let's go ahead and go to House Bill 239, Gary Cam, Campaign Spending Commission.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We have provided testimony in opposition to this bill. One of our concerns is that in the amendment to section 11-391A2A, it states that in cases where it is not readily apparent to a reasonable person that the advertisement is an advertisement. So if you take a look at 11-302, that's the definition of advertisement is in there. And that is one that identifies a candidate or ballot issue. And number 2, advocates the nomination, opposition, or election of the candidate, or advocates the passage or defeat of the ballot issue. I think it's pretty clear when you are looking at an advertisement as defined under campaign spending laws. So I don't, the commission is not clear why that amendment is in there about not readily apparent to a reasonable person. And regarding the placement of the disclaimer in 11 required by 11-391, the commission does not believe that any change is needed. The commission believes that the candidates, non-candidate committees, or anyone that does political ads should be have the leeway to decide where to put the disclaimer. Thank you.
So much. Next up, we have Sandy Ma, Common Cause Hawaii.
We actually supported HB 239. We did not think that it's clear. We think that it's needed on the first page of a multi-page advertisement. We think that will help the public understand that if it's a multi-page advertisement, that the first page is the beginning of an advertisement. So we would appreciate that kind of disclosure. So thank you. And as for the previous bill, 146, if I could go back and answer Chair's question. May I?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Campaign Spending Commission's proposed amendment does satisfy our concerns. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and we have the, see, that's all we have. We have also League of Women Voters Hawaii and several individuals all written in support. That's all we have for testimony on this measure. Any questions of the Zoom participants, members?
Chair.
Yes, please, Rep. Moore.
Thank you, Chair. To either Ms. Ma or Mr. Ken, does anything have to do with the mayor's race when there was a midweek article that looked like an article, but it was an advertisement and had maybe mice print on page 4 or 5? Is that what we're talking about, basically? Or that we're trying to prevent?
This is Gary Cam from the Campaign Spending Commission, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. This could be in response to that. I would say that there were 2 complaints filed on that ad in the midweek, and the commission did hear it, and the commission found that there was no violation of 11-391, and I don't think any of the commissioners felt that the ad was deceptive in any way. I mean, if you read through, all of the pages were connected by some description in the ad itself. And then if you read it through the end on the 3rd page, the disclaimer was clear. In fact, the disclaimer, I think, had more information than was required by law. So the commission, I don't think any commission, well, actually, I was there. I didn't hear any commission express any concerns about the disclaimer being at the end.
Would your reading of this bill then make such an ad in midweek illegal?
No. It will just tell you as a candidate or non-candidate committee, if you want to put a cover story ad, then the disclaimer has to go on the cover page.
What was the midweek on the front page? I don't believe it was it?
The midweek case, it was a cover. It was on the cover, and then it was on 2 pages on the inside of the publication.
But this bill would require it on the front page, correct?
Would require, yes.
And you're suggesting in your testimony this bill is not necessary?
No, I mean, if you read the ad through the end where the disclaimer was, there wouldn't be any deception because the disclaimer was clear. So I guess if you don't read the ad, if you just look at the cover, then that there might be a problem. But like I said, this is the first time that a cover ad was done, and I don't think we should just react to that kind of a situation when there really, I don't think we can determine that there is a problem at this point. Yes. And I think at this point, we should just leave it up to the people who purchase ads to determine where to put the disclaimer that's required by 11-391.
So the commission is against this bill, clearly.
Yeah.
The commission opposes the bill, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Gary, a couple questions for you along that line, but most people, especially in today's world, they just glance at the first thing, at the cover, at the, and something is being, can create a quick impression that it's a news item. We've seen this confusion with things being broadcast as quote real news, which in turn it's not. Don't you think it's, I mean, doesn't it just help the cause of transparency insofar as requiring that at least on the front of said ad that it be placed there instead of just anywhere throughout it, just to help to ensure that the viewer knows right off the bat that this is a political advertisement?
Well, okay, so if all you do is glance at the cover page, I'm not sure you're going to get any information of what is being said about the person on the cover page. And I guess all I'm saying is that if you choose to read the ad, then the disclaimer is there. But I just want to point out that this is the first time since I've been with the commission that I've seen a cover page ad like this. So this has happened once. And I guess all I'm saying is instead of just reacting to that one time, I think we should wait to see if there, instead of upending what the law is right now, in that candidates, non-candidate committees, or anyone else that wants to do a political ad has a choice of where to put that disclaimer.
Well, it's a new, like you said, laws evolve and change. It's a new thing. Twitter was a new thing. Facebook at one time was a new thing. I mean, it could be the first of many down the roads now that it's entered the arena as far as being a tool, if you will, of campaigns to get their messaging out. So just because it hasn't happened before doesn't mean this could be the first of many. But I appreciate your comments. Real quickly, Sandy, what about the commission's concern about the advertising definition? The parent to a reasonable person. I mean, do you have any feedback on that?
Thank you for that, Chair. We received about 3 complaints about the midweek ad being confusing to people. And so we refer them to the Campaign Spending Commission because they handle violations of advertisement. And so people did not all the way read through to the 3rd just page of the midweek advertisement to see the disclaimer. People thought it was an endorsement by the midweek and its parent, Star Advertiser. And so that's why we support this bill.
But I guess my thing being definition of advertising using the bill being tied to a reasonable person's perception of it is you think that, I guess I understand that the commission's found that as problematic since advertising is already defined elsewhere. I mean, what I guess would be your feedback to their concerns on that?
You know, we'd be happy to look to work with the Campaign Spending Commission to look at that further.
Right.
Thank you.
It's a work in progress. I appreciate it. Just want to throw that out there this month. Okay. Anything else? Vice Chair, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering if Mr. Gluck from State Ethics had a comment. Oh, God, mute.
No, next bill, Vice Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing none, so we'll go 671 and we'll switch it to Daniel Gluck, Hawaii State Ethics Commission.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. The Ethics Commission stands on its written testimony in support of this measure with amendments.
Hey, thank you so much, sir. 671, Sandy Ma, Common Cause.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We support this bill, HB 671, for more transparency and ethics and accountability in government. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. We have numerous individuals who submit written testimony in support, none of whom are here, but in case they are, is there anybody else in Zoom wishing to testify on the measure? Seeing none, members, questions on this measure here? Okay, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Next up, 672, Daniel Gluck, Hawaii State Ethics Commission.
Thank you. We'll stand on a written testimony in support.
All right, thank you, sir. Sandy Ma, Common Cause.
Thank you again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We also stand in support of this bill. You have our testimony. Thank you.
Okay, sure do. Thank you for that. We have, let's see, several individuals who have testified in support of the bill, written, not on Zoom, but in case they are, any of them here wishing to testify. Seeing none, members' questions. 672. Okay, if not, thank you. Next up, House Bill 741, Daniel Gluck, State Ethics Commission.
Thank you. We'll stand on our written testimony with comments.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the comments. Right, and that is all we have is you. Anybody else wanting to testify or jump in? If not, members' question of Daniel. Okay, thank you for being here. Next up, we have 7:43, and we toss the ball back to Gary Cam, Campaign Spending Commission.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The commission has submitted testimony in opposition to the bill, and we'll
Okay, thank you for that. We appreciate your testimony. Sandy Ma, Common Cause Hawaii.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Common Cause also objects to HB 743. You have our written testimony stating our objections and the reasons for them. If you have any questions, we are available to answer them. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And then finally, Andrea Quinn. Actually, I might know who this person is. Let's see, individual, they're expressing support for the measure. Okay, that's all we have on 7:43. Anybody in the Zoom room wishing to testify? Seeing none, members' questions on the measure. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go up to House Bill 882, and we only have State Procurement Office on this one.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Bonnie Kahakui for the State Procurement Office. We stand on our written testimony and thank you for considering the additional language revising the bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's all we have is you, Bonnie. Anybody else in the Zoom room wishing to testify? Seeing none, members' questions of Bonnie?
Thank you very much, members.
Okay, seeing none, we do have some late testimony. Oh, no, sorry, this is a different bill. Okay. Next up, House Bill 1054. We have State Procurement Office first.
Again, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. The State Procurement Office stands on its written testimony with comments.
Thanks for the comments. We have late from Tammy Lee, Department of Transportation.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. Lynn Araki Regan from the Department of Transportation. We stand on a written testimony and strong support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We also have late testimony from your director, Casey Zahn. Jade, you there? No?
Unfortunately, he's in a transportation committee meeting today, but he stands in strong support as well.
Okay, no, I appreciate him testifying too, so let him know that. Okay, let's see, Tim Lyon, Subcontractors Association of Hawaii.
I'm not sure, yes. Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I can.
Great. Thank you for this opportunity. We're opposed to the bill, but we're opposed only because we think the amounts are too high. We understand that protests have been a problem, but if you calculate this out, I mean, you're looking at a $4,500 bond for a $450,000 project, or a $23,750 bond for a $950,000 contract. And I think it's to be remembered that the contractor, if he is going to protest, is doing so because he thinks there's something that's been awry in the procurement process. So he's kind of doing the job of government at that point in double checking and asking for a double check. So they're going to pay for the bond. They have to pay for their attorney fees. They're going to lose their time. And if they're wrong, they lose the bond. So, I mean, I think it's a huge burden for them to take. We want to be able to allow slow down protests, but it needs to find a better balance, we believe. These amounts are too high. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We have Lori Lum, Airlines Committee of Hawaii.
Good morning, Chair McKelvey, Vice Chair Waldberger, and members of the committee. It's good to see you. The Airlines Committee of Hawaii is in strong support of this bill. Bid protests are an impediment to the state growth and would further stymie, our much needed economic recovery. The ability to challenge an improperly awarded bid is an important tool, but not one that should be used arbitrarily. For many years, numerous bid protests with little or no basis have been submitted, and they've really caused delays to critical airport capital projects that are valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Due to the fact that the financial risk of the entity filing the protest is limited to $10,000. So we do ask for your favorable consideration in passing this measure. Thank you.
That's all we have on 1054 via Zoom. Anybody else on Zoom that would like to testify? Seeing none, members, questions of the testifier? Yes, Rep. Ward?
Mr. Lyons, please. Jim,
Yes.
you said the numbers were extravagant, high, just too expensive on the bond. Do you have a quote amended suggested fair market value or fair funding rather than the one that's in the bill?
Yes, we would suggest that it be 1% across the board for all the contracts. It's still a very healthy amount to gamble on, which is in effect what you're doing when you file the protest. So we just think that it's still going to be a sufficient deterrent to frivolous protests. Nobody's going to spend that kind of money just for kicks.
And the 2% may be for the big boys only and knocks out some of the people that you represent in the small business subcontracting area?
Well, I do think that it perhaps could be a higher percentage on the larger contracts because there is more to gamble. But on anything under $1 million, it certainly should be no more than 1%.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much. House Bill 1118, Gary Tam, Campaign Spending Commission.
Good morning again, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. We submitted testimony opposing this bill, and at this point, I just want to say that the commission believes that the bill has constitutional problems. The commission is not qualified to speak to those kinds of legal issues, so the commission will recommend that the legislature consult with the Attorney General's office on this bill.
Okay, well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. Appreciate your testimony. All we have is you on this. Anybody else out there in Zoom land wishing to testify on the measure? Seeing none, members, questions of Mr. Cam?
Zoom land.
Zoom land, it's the newest place where we're all here to deliberate. Questions of the director? Yes or no? Yes, no, you good?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, next up, we have finally on our agenda 1244. First up, Daniel Gluck, Hawaii State Ethics Commission.
Thank you. We'll stand on our written testimony with comments.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. You're the only one we have on this. Anybody else out there in Zoom land wishing to testify? Seeing none, members, questions of the director? Seeing none, I think this is the last bill on the agenda, so we'll recess for decision making. I'm fogging up. Forgive me, everybody. Okay, welcome back. Decision making on the agenda we just heard, Friday, February 12th. First up, House Bill 139. While we appreciate the intent behind it, there are some concerns with it. There's a vehicle coming over from the Senate on this measure, so we'll just wait for it. So defer indefinitely. Next up, House Bill 143. We want to do some work on it. So when the DM on this, time certain Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., room 309. Same situation with 144. DM will be Wednesday, time certain, 10:30, 309. We're also going to have 146 as well. DM Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., room 309. We're also going to defer time certain to that date, House Bill 239. House Bill 671, members, we're going to go ahead and defect date the measure and move it on to judiciary so they can look at the months in the bill. Question, comment? If not, Vice Chair 671, House Doc 1.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation to move HB 671 with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Cullen?
Aye.
Representative Eli is excused. Representative Ichiyama is excused. Representative Mizuno?
Aye.
Representative Woodson?
Aye.
Representative Yamashita?
Aye.
Representative Ward?
Aye.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, let's see. Next one we're going to have is 672. I'd like to go ahead and follow up on a couple of things. So decision make Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., room 309. 741. Given a testimony, it sounds like, especially in the electronic age, they may be able to keep these things permanently, especially with AWS and other things like that. So what we're going to do to move the conversation forward to Judd is we're going to defect date the measure and we're going to have the retention be permanent. Okay, and then with the conversation can continue on judiciary as far as that idea. Members, questions, comments? If not, Vice Chair 741, House Draft.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation to move HB 741 with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representatives Eli and Ichiyama excused. Do any members have reservations or no vote? Thank you, Chair. Your measure is adopted.
Okay, next up, House Bill 743. Another measure like this is advancing further along. So we're going to defer this one now indefinitely, given that bill. Let's see, next up, House Bill 882. Relating to procurement, we're going to make numerous amendments to this bill based upon the testimony of SBO to try to improve rather than outright eliminate HHS contracts. So what we're going to do is, of course, the effective date. We're going to streamline membership requirements for the board under 103D 201. We're going to try to promote fair and reasonable prices through improved government transparency by amending 103F-401 as alluded to in their testimony. We're also going to try to increase efficiency of short-term treatment service of purchases and increase the threshold for procurement of HHS small purchase contracts under 103F-405. Again, it has a defective date, so the next committee can look at these amendments and continue to work with the stakeholders. Members, any comments, questions? If not, Vice Chair 882, House Draft 1.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation to move HB 882 with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Voting Eli and Ichiyama excused. Are there any reservations or no's with other members? Thank you, Chair. Your motion is adopted.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take 1054. We're going to take the amendments offered by the subcontractors to further the conversation. So it's going to be 1% for projects under $1 million and 2% for $1 million and above. A defective date of 21/12. So the next committee can look at these changes. Members, questions, comments? If not, Vice Chair.
Good call, Chair.
Thank you.
For
Thank
the
you for
small
that
guy
accolade.
in a
But
pandemic.
before, let's take the vote, shall we? 1054 HB1.
Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation to move HB 1054 with amendments, Chair and Vice Chair voting aye, noting Representatives Eli and Ichiyama excused. Any no's or reservations from other members? Thank you, Chair. Your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you so much. Finally, the last two bills on the agenda, 1118 and House Bill 1244. We want to go ahead and share some of the testimony with the authors, and so we're going to definitely bring them back time certain Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. room 309 to move them, but I want to touch base with them with the indulgence of the committee. Okay, that will conclude the DM on this agenda. We're good? Okay, welcome back, everybody, for the 10:30 agenda. Sorry, running a little behind today. One bill, 353. First up, we have John Benny Dela Cruz, Hawaii Office of Community Services. Not present, okay. Actually, we have two testimonies from individuals in support. That's all we have, and given there's nobody in the Zoom room and nobody can ask questions of, we'll just go right into decision-making. Members, there were some concerns that came up on the measure. It could be with some language things. We're definitely going to move the measure, but however, so what we're going to do is we're going to bundle it with the other items we deferred, the last one, and we're going to move the bill on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Sorry, 10:35 a.m. room 309. Okay, thank you so much.